Hey, there we are. Oh, now we have graphics. Voila. Hey, Martin. Now it's
Hey,
episode 97. Um, I'm messing things up here. So anyway, I've got a new office. Everything doesn't work, but we will see how it works. Um, anyway, so we have a episode special one. I know a lot of people are probably on vacation, but um, we thought it was a good time to actually have a. Actually, I thought Martin, you suggested have an update. Quarkus Qute, which talked
yeah,
about, I think
yeah,
in the in the single digits of episodes, but
uh, yeah. So we talked about Qt already here, right? It was like 2 years ago, so I thought that it might be a good time to say what's new. Although
exactly.
we have a bunch of nice features, but it's nothing like a big bang breaking stuff or anything like that. So
Well, it's two years of evolution, and let's catch up.
yeah, two
And
years of bug fixing and adding features and
yeah,
so on.
and I know you won't. You're not the big VS Code user, but we also have the deep not debugger, the Qt tooling for content assist and verification, which we talked about in episode 90, I think. Um,
Yeah,
but
I have to
yeah,
admit that this tooling looks really nice and promising. Unfortunately, I'm an Eclipse user and I wasn't able to, try to
try
use
it
the
out.
new IDE just to show it. So
Cool. But anyway, I know you had like you've been a good guest. You had like a whole agenda prepared, so good for you.
I
So
have I have agenda, but that's basically all. We can take
that's
a look.
so.
Um,
But just before we get going, just anyone who's on the call or chat here, you can ask questions in your YouTube, Twitter, whatever you are, and I'll ask the questions back to Martin, and it can be about Qt and other parts of Quarkus, but mainly Qt this time. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, Martin, I'll let you go with your agenda.
Okay. So first of all, like Max mentioned, I would be really grateful if we have any questions like here in the chat so that we can answer them directly. Because like I said, it was 2 years of development. We added a lot of small but nice features, and it's hard to choose. Like uh, agenda contains like 10 or 12 features, but of course the number of features we added is definitely large. So feel free to ask questions directly, immediately, whenever you will be ready. And yeah, so uh, I suppose that many of you, or many of the people who are watching this event, know something about Qt or templating. But can you make share my screen because I have a super.
Yes, super drawing. Yes.
I have a very sophisticated image, the only image we have today, and I will just try to explain what templating is about. So, as you can see, templating is about taking templates, which are basically text files that have some static part and dynamic part, and then we have some kind of data, all kind of data, and we want to take the data and template, put it all together, merge it somehow, and render some result, which is again a text file, but the dynamic parts of the template are somehow replaced by the engine, so that we can see the data in the result. Okay, so this is a this is a very simple explanation of templating, and I
Uh,
believe,
so
yeah.
I just can't keep up because when you show this is the whole reason why there are so many different template engines. It's just this is all they do, but still we have to have I don't know how many. But
Yes, that's
yes,
the point. We have a ton of templating engines in Java and in other languages as well. And the difference is in the engine, in the way we take the data and templates, and somehow the magic that is inside inside the engine to render the result we have. So this is the basic principle, and well, I can probably let the image there. Okay, and the question is, or the first question probably is, why do we need yet another templating engine, right? Because we have free marker, we have velocity, we have other uh, like standards more or less in Java. So Qt stands for Quarkus templating, and we do try to add some features that are really hard to integrate with the existing engines. So we'll talk about type safety, we'll talk about reactive integration and so on. And all these features are something that is not easily possible to integrate with existing engines. That's why we decided to create Qt. Okay, so I think I can just remove the image. And um, I don't have any slides or anything like that. All the demos, short demos we will show will be in the ID. Well, I have our Qt Kickstart opened. Uh, of course, it's a little bit modified so that we can show the new features. And when we are finished, I'll probably take the quick start and save the current version to a separate branch so that anyone can check the result. So, um, like I said, we have an agenda, but I will not go like uh, from the top of the list to the bottom because we can just mix the points we have there. And the first thing that is really important, and I don't have really a demo for this, is that uh, 2 years ago we only supported templates located in your application, which is in the quick start we have is source main resources templates. So this is the only location we supported in Quarkus and in Qt. And that means that at that time, 2 years ago, you couldn't just take your templates, bundle it in some kind of library in a jar, and share this jar in your applications. So this is fixed now, and we basically search for templates in all application archives now, and even extensions. So that's really, I will not demonstrate it here because we don't have a multi-module something or complicated application. But right now it's possible to bundle your templates in a jar, and then this jar can be shared by other Quarkus applications. So it's a big feature in terms of usability, but of course, in most cases, uh, it's possible that you will not need it.
And yeah, and that's just so today we mainly talk about Qt and Quarkus, but also that feature and others, for example, JBang uses Qt as an engine, and JBang is currently not a Quarkus app, so you can use Qt everywhere. And yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I wanted to explain it here. So Qt itself, the core is can be used as a standalone library. So you don't need Quarkus to try Qt. On the other hand, there are some features and integrations that only work in Quarkus. We also have, we look at Qt reference guide, which is highly recommended for anyone who is interested in Qt. We even have a section which explains that Qt is primarily designed for Quarkus, but it can be used standalone. And by the way, like I said, debugging is using it, but we also use Qt standalone in Quarkus Dev UI, which is our special UI that is available in the development mode, right? The only disadvantage of standalone usage is that you need to do a lot of stuff manually because it's not configured or integrated for you. So it's possible to use it, but it's kind of harder to set up because you need to do a lot of stuff. And for example, some advanced features such as type safe validation or I don't know what, uh, looking out for the templates and so on. This is not implemented by default, so you will need to implement something on your own. So thanks for the question. Okay, so back to the ID. So I wanted to start with something easy. So one of the features or feature requests we have is that we need a better support for enums, for Java enums, I mean. So I I will try to demonstrate it here in our demo. And in order to be able to do this, I needed to add an enum into our item class. So this is not present in the quick start in the repository. So we need to be able to somehow handle enums better in our application. And so we introduced two things in Qt to be able to handle enums easily. So first of all, we have a new annotation, which is called template enum. So I'll just uncomment it here. And this annotation can be used to annotate enums, and it basically allows you to access the enum constants directly in the templates. So that's one of the ways how we integrate enums. And the other way is that the other feature we have in Qt is that we have a section or control block which is called when, and this is kind of like switch in Java or something like that, and it also supports enums. So we'll try to run our application in the dev mode, and we're going to modify the existing template. This is the existing template we have in the quick start. And as you may notice, we added the status property to our item class. So it's an enum and it's a status, it's a property, it's public final field so that we can access it directly in
So,
our templates. Yeah,
so,
go
so
ahead.
what does the template enum do? Is it not sufficient just to have status as we refer to it? Like, does it add?
Yeah, I will show it in a few seconds.
Okay, cool, got it.
Yeah, it's very, it's the goal of each template enum is to be able to use the constants directly in the template. So it's very similar to accessing static fields, methods, and so on we have in Qt. We'll talk about it later. So I have a list of items where I just iterate over the items and show some name and price and so on. And I'm going to add first of all, I'm going to add the status. So I just have a status. See the result. So right now we just added the status, right? This is simple. For this kind of stuff, you don't need add template enum at all, because we just take the enum and call toString on it, and it works. But now, what if I want to modify my template, and I only want to show the status if it's inactive, right? So in this case, I need to add some logic to my template. So I'm going to use if. I'm going to test the item status. And now I need to say, what if my status is inactive? And this is the problem, because how do you reference static things from your template? You need to somehow qualify the constants, right? So for this case, we use the template enum annotation, which automatically exposes the status using something we call namespace in Qt. So it's status and inactive. And here we just output the item status. So if we try to render it now, yeah, as you can see, we only render the status if it's inactive. And in this case, I'm testing the property of the item, but I need to compare it somehow with the constant that comes from an enum. So in this case, because we added the template enum annotation on the status, I can use these constants directly in the template. Does that make sense? Oh, you there, Max?
Sorry, I was unmuted. Yeah, it does make sense. I thought I would expect it to be item.status.inactive or something like that. What happens here if you have two status, like item status and product status? Will the template enum then fail, or how?
Not really. If you had, well, this is basically what it does is it attempts to resolve the item.status property. In our case, it's one of the items from the list, and then we know that we have a property called status, and that's all.
Sure, but on the right side you say status colon
Yeah,
inactive.
yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay, so
Yeah.
by default, I get a question. So by default, if you use a template enum, then we use the simple name, but you can also use fully qualified name. In the difference is that we cannot use dots in the name. So if you
Yeah.
look at the annotation, um, where is it? Yeah, you basically the simple name. Now I'm not really sure whether we can use template enum or the different annotation, but never mind. By default, we use the simple name. If there is a conflict, then it's a problem because we'll have like multiple resolvers registering.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I would expect something like item status or something. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's
Got
basic,
it.
well, it's basically like that, but we'll show it later when talking about accessing static members of classes. It's
Sure.
basically the same approach. And
See, there's someone asking here. Mathematician ask status as a namespace refer to the class where defined with annotation. I assume yes. Right. The status colon was derived from the name of the class that it was in. Yeah.
it's a simple name of the enum. But we'll
Yeah.
show it later. If you have like, um, if you want like access static members, for example, of a class, you can choose whether to use the simple name, which is simpler for use, but there can be conflicts, or fully qualified name, so that
Okay.
you have some kind of prefix. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be status, but a little
Yeah.
bit more complex.
And he also asked, is it possible to find template enums in a different file, like a util, or does it need to be bound to a class? Like, I assume the template enum can be used on any enums,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So you could have this as a standalone enum, and it'll be fine. It doesn't have to be inside a class. It's just for this demo. You
yeah,
have that. Yeah.
for sure. This is just to simplify the code, but it could be a standalone class, like not like this nested one. It
Yeah.
has to be enum type.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other approach I was talking about is something we have, which is called when section, or it's very similar to switch in Java, and I can use it directly here as well. So I can easily say when item status, and then we have something we call subsections or nested blocks. And I can easily say when item is inactive. In this case, I don't really need to use the prefix, the status prefix, because I know that item status is actually an enum and which type it is. So I can do when item is inactive, I can say, I don't know, Martin. And else I can say Max, for example. Uh, Okay, so as you can see, in this case, it's active, so we write just Max, and if it's inactive, we write Martin. So this is the other enum integration we have in Qt, so that you can use and work with enums easily. Okay,
and this doesn't require a template enum, right? That just requires that's just based on the property type.
yes, actually, yeah. The when section can be used with any type, but with enums we already know the constants, so that it's easier to work with. But you can use it with strings, with numbers, with whatever object you want.
Sure. Cool.
Actually, we also have like more operators here, so you don't need to uh, for use it like this in case of for one branch for each constant, but you can, for example, say is in and then return multiple or set multiple constants. It's a little bit more powerful. Highly recommended to use or to read Qute reference guide. It's described there, all the cases we have. Okay, so this is about enums, and the other thing we have, or we wanted to support somehow, is, like I mentioned, existing static members. So if you have, for example, in our case, I have a public static field which is called discount limit, and I want to be able to use it somehow. So I have many or multiple possibilities here. The first possibility we have is to use at template data. At template data is a notation that can be used if you really need to use a Java class in your templates. You don't want to use reflection because for obvious reasons in Quarkus, and you don't use type-safe templates because if you use type-safe templates, then we do basically all the stuff for you automatically. But sometimes it's not possible or even desirable, so we can use its template data. And the way it works is that if you annotate any class with template data, like in this case, I'm annotating item results, which is not really nice, but why not? And if you do this, then we automatically expose all static members. And again, we need to use some kind of prefix so that we can identify your constants. So if you look at the Java doc, then it's basically this. We use a special namespace. And these are the default constants that can be used here. By default, we use underscore fully qualified class name, which means that we use the fully qualified class name, but replace the dots with underscores because dots are not valid in a Qt expression template otherwise. But you can also change it to a simple name. So I'm going to use the simple name because of, because it's just simple for the demo purpose, right? So I'm going to use the simple one, this constant. Simple name. And now if I do this, then I can use again the prefix, which is the simple name of the class, and then the constant. So I'm going to use item results, which is the simple name of my class defining the static member. And then I'm going to use the discount limit.
Yeah.
So it seems to work. So right now our template is a little bit more dynamic because our condition is based on a static field defined in the item results class. You can not only use the fields but also methods, for example. So if I add public static int get my limit method and return the discount limit here. I can use it directly here as well. So again, it looks the same. Yeah, but in this time we call the static method called get my limit, which returns this value. We can try to modify the value so that we can see whether it actually works.
So just to understand it, so this use case is if you have global statics. It's not, yeah, which I guess we kind of we avoid. We don't we recommend people not to use that? Or is it?
So static methods and fields are kind of useful sometimes. Of course, if you, for example, if you're, for example, a Kotlin user, then you cannot use them at all because Kotlin doesn't define them, doesn't have them, right? But in general, it could be useful, I believe.
Yeah. We got a question about the temp. If you go back to the templates.
The template, right?
Yeah, he says this is for the when. Is there an else if on the where operator or when operator? I guess to match switch like implementations. So like if nothing matches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What else? Else one? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is okay. So you can just keep doing is inactive, is active, else.
Yeah.
Something.
Any other value is basically this range.
Got it.
And cool. In fact, I'm using the short version of the syntax because normally you would do something like this, but it's not necessary to use the end tag here, so it's just easier. Yeah, the other thing, we also had a request that and the static members are a feature request from a user as well. But the other one was that sometimes users want to use some global data which are available somewhere, possibly defined in a static, I don't know, constants or whatever. And they don't want to use the namespace at all. So we added a feature which is called template global, or globals. And I'm going to show it right now. So I'm going to remove the template data because we don't need them anymore. And I'm going to annotate my static member with a new annotation called template global instead. The difference is that for globals, you don't use any prefix, any namespace or whatever. Globals are essentially available in any template. So in this case, I'm saying that this constant will be available in any template, and we use the field name the constant. So I can change my template now and use this one directly. All right, so we just use limit, template global, and then discount limit is automatically available in any template. So let's try to work with it. Yeah, it seems to work. I'll change it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, what if for some reason you have a duplicate, like something with the same name, it will just fail if you've done it twice, I guess.
Yeah. So if you pass some data directly in your template, then it takes precedence. Like it overrides the global value.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Oh, I just saw Jean-Francois saying here that the Eclipse tooling for Qute has support for, the Eclipse Quarkus tools has support for Qute. So now you can use it in Eclipse too. So you have no excuse anymore.
Yeah, I know that they share some code, so it's possible, but I'm an old school guy, so I usually don't use any plugins, so to link that is not necessary. But of course, I don't have any excuse now.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, the next thing I wanted to add or to mention is that we didn't talk about this yet, but we already talked about this last time. In Qt, we have something which is called template extension, as you can see in the quick start code. And it's a way to add some computed properties, for example, or any properties to objects, to any class, basically. And it works very similar to I don't know, Kotlin extension methods, where you basically can add something to the classes you don't control. So in this case, in the quick start, we have a template extension method, which extends the item. It's called discounted price. So by default, we use the name of the method as a property name, and it basically adds some computed value to the item class. So in this case, we have it used here, where we say if the item should be discounted, then take the discounted price. And as you can see, item does not define any discounted price property or anything like that, right? So this is what we use template extension methods for. And during the last 2 years, we added a bunch of features to the template extension methods. And we also added a lot of built-in template extensions so that you can easily work with some JDK types and so on. So it's again listed in the docs, but what I wanted to show is just a few of my favorites. So I'm going to remove this one. So the first one we have, or I wanted to show, my favorite one is that we added a reversed property to a list, so that if you want to iterate over a list in the reverse order, you just say a list dot reversed. So in our case, we should see something like orange, pear, apple now, which works. Another interesting property is, or built-in property is, that you can take a part of the list. So I can, for example, say take first two. Oh, sorry, not the reverse. Forgot to remove this one. Okay, and the same is another property we added is just items last and first, so that I can say, okay, items last name, and the last item name is. Class item name is orange, which is correct because we only are the two. Right, so we have a bunch of these built-in template extension methods, and I mentioned them for two reasons. First of all, they can help you when rendering your templates, but also you can take a look at the implementation, and that can help you with implementing your own template extension methods. So it's present in the Qt integration runtime module, and it's I don't remember the name now. Yeah, it's collection template extensions. So you can basically take a look at what we have implemented in Quarkus, and based on these implement your own template extension methods. So this is basically the implementation of the reversed property. So we take the list iterator and then create a new one and iterate in basically backwards. There are many other built-in template extensions in Qt. We have something for collections, maps, date, time, string, and so on, and even config, I believe.
And I guess this comes really handy if for some reason you have entities with types you can't change. then you can always just add logic.
Exactly, exactly. If you don't control the type, which happens quite often, because you have, for example, I don't know, a third-party dependency in your application, and you want to use the classes there in your template, and you cannot just add properties, methods, or whatever. It's not only about properties because template extensions allow you to basically add like something like a visual method. So it's not only like a simple getter. It could be more complex.
And just because I like conflict, what happens if for some reason you, so let's say you added a method to a class, a template extension for a type, and then in the next version of that library they add a method with the same name. Does it fail, or what happens?
No, it would not fail. Actually, the way Qt works is that under the hood, we have some API which is called value resolver, and it's a bunch of classes that have some priorities so that they are ordered, and each of the value resolver is capable of resolving something. So, for example, if you have class that is annotated with add template data, you get a value resolver from it. If you add a template extension method, you get another value resolver. And these have some priorities so that they are ordered. So it's well defined which one takes precedence. And if not, uh, then a random one is chosen, I believe. But in most
Okay.
cases, all of those types of value resolvers that we generate or create for you uh, have like some defined priorities. So it's well defined. Like if you have a property or method in your class, then the generated value resolver should always take precedence.
Yep.
If that
Okay.
makes
So that means in this case the template extension will win. You're saying.
well, there are actually more options because you can even specify the priority on the annotation. So
Ah.
um, it depends on what you actually need. So you can change the behavior based on your requirements. You can say that, okay, this template extension should have higher priority, so it should take precedence or not. Depends on your needs.
Okay.
And another interesting thing we added in template extensions is that you can also define namespace, which basically means that like we showed the example with its template enum and with static members, you can do the same with template extension methods. So a good example is like I mentioned, college template extensions. We have we have template extensions for strings, and um, if you look here.
Ah, you can change the name. Okay.
Yeah, the way it works is that you say, I'm adding a template extension method, and this extension method actually does not apply to a specific type. It's not something like a computed property, but instead of the type, you start the expression with the namespace. So in this case, when you use str column format, then this static method is used. So it's kind of
Ah, okay.
extension method for something like virtual static things, so that you don't have an instance of an object, but instead you call something without the instance object. It's not a property. It's very similar to invoking static members of classes.
Got it.
Cool. So take a look at the agenda. What we have now. Okay, so this one is also interesting, although it's not a feature, uh, a real feature. What we added is some kind of more strict validation. So we added two things. So first of all, if you use type safe templates, which is again in the quick start used here with the annotation at check template. This basically allows you to say what data the template is actually using. So you don't need to define them into template, but we define them on the call side, basically. In this case, we are going to say that this template actually accepts a list of items. So that in our template, when we do here items, whenever we do items, we know what type it actually has, and we can do some type-safe validation and so on. And what we added, I don't know, a year ago or so, is that if you use this kind of template with a check template, then all the expressions in the template must be type-safe, which means that we must be able to validate every expression in the template, which was not the case before because type-safe validation in Qt is optional. So in this case, if I try to do anything which would be normally legal, like, I don't know, say foo name, which is not there, I should get an exception when I try to render or even build the template. It's not about, we are in the dev mode, so I'm going to refresh the page and I'm going to rebuild the application. But we should get an exception because this expression cannot be validated because we don't have the type information, right? So I'm going to use it and it says, okay, no, only type-safe expression are allowed in your template. It's possible to disable this feature, but by default it's on. And how do I fix it? Well, I can use direct. I can type the parameter directly, type of the parameter directly. So in our case, I can say my foo is actually item. This is something we call parameter declaration in Qt, and it allows you to say that foo that is used in this template should be of type or Acme Qt item. So if I do this, then it goes away, the error, because I'm able to validate this, and item name, foo name is actually valid because item has a name. The thing that there is no foo data available, that's another story. But the validation works like this.
So right now, just full name just renders blank.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
In Qt, we have several strategies and ways how to react in this situation because sometimes it's like it might be useful, sometimes not. You want to see error and so on. So we have some different strategies how to handle this. Yeah, again, you can take a look in the Qt reference guide, and there's a few articles about this.
Yep.
So I'm going to remove this again. Now, let's talk about another feature we added, and it's again nothing like no big bang or anything, but we added a convenient Qt class that allows you to use a Qt anywhere in your application. And to demonstrate this, I prepared a simple resource, which is called Qt FMT resource. And this is how it looks, the usage actually. Qt is the class we provide, and there are few or several static methods so that you can say something similar like string format if you used it ever before. You can basically try or use Qt anywhere where you can use Java. So in this case, in our example, I'm going to return a string from my results method, and the string is built using Qt. But as you can see in the template, I can use anything I would be able to use in normal templates. So in this case, I'm going to use CDI to inject a named bean. So in this case, it's a CDI or at inject, inject prefix, and then you use the name of the bean. And the bean is defined here in the producer. So it's named, the default name, the name is defaulted, so the method name is from. And again, I can use Qute in the method to return the value. So the expected result is that here one Qute template is used to render the message, and then another one is used to render the value here. The downside of this approach is that, of course, these templates are not known beforehand, so that we cannot validate them. You can use any type-C validation in the templates used directly in these convenient classes. So I'm just going to use to test it, whether it actually works. Oh, what is it? Okay, so a bit bigger. So as you can see, we have, again, a template where we output the value, which is a random number, random integer, and then we say if the value is bigger than 5, then we should render Martin, else to render max. So 2 is max, 7 is Martin, and so on. Seems to work just fine. So the good thing in this, a good use case for this could be, for example, rendering complex error messages for your exceptions, because you can use any control statements or control blocks you can use normally in your templates, and it's much easier than building your error message, for example, using a string builder or anything like that.
So it's like an advanced string format, right? But with full templating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks very similar. We even have a simple version where you can do something like this. Where we basically replace these brackets with the data based on the order. So in this case, you can this one and add max.
Oh, okay.
We should see something like hello from Martin and Max. So this is the simplest possible form. But yeah, it could be more complex. You can even use the CDI beans there. You can even use, for example, types of message bundles and so on. Anything you would normally use in your templates. So it's much more powerful. On the other hand, of course, the performance of this is much worse compared to, for example, string format.
Ah, yeah, because they have to parse and build it up every time. Sure.
Yeah.
So this is not for a tight loop. This is for case of exceptions or some
definitely.
low intent. Yeah.
Definitely not use it on your own path. That's not a good idea.
Cool. Can you? Yeah. No, I was just thinking. Oh, could you pass in a template document or what it was called? That doesn't. I guess that doesn't make sense. Then you have your own Qt instance. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually this one. It's this one is using the same Qt engine instance you're using in your application, but you can use it even in standalone. Because there is some logic like default one is used.
And is it thread safe? So you won't. They won't collide.
It should be thread safe because we are creating new objects, and if you can set the engine instance under the hood, but it's like something you would normally you would not do like very often. Should be thread safe.
Cool. Gotcha.
So and another thing I have in my list is that this is kind of a breaking change, but on the other hand, we decided to implement it. So inside any loop, you can use something we call iteration metadata, which is usually something like the index of your iteration, whether there is the next element into available, or so on. And before, like I don't know how many versions back, but it was used like directly, in the sense that use something like this, which showed the this expression actually uh, showed the index plus one. So for the first item you get one, for the second item you get two, and so on, which is very useful. But soon we realized that there might be a problem if you have nested loops. Because if you want to do a nested loop here and iterate over, how do we call it? The nodes. I believe we call it nodes. Yeah. So I want to do a nested iteration and iterate over the nodes of each item. And in this case, it would be like a little bit more complicated because we could only reference the metadata from the inner loop or from the nested loop. So we decided to change the behavior in a way that by default you need to use the alias used here to prefix the metadata. In the case like it's like this. So this is the prefix we used, and it's a defaulted value. Basically, we take the alias from the loop. In this loop, we would use alias item underscore count, right? Let's try it. Oh, it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so as you can see, this is the 1, 2, 3 in our in the loop, top level loop, and then we have a nested loop here because we have one node. In this case, it's not very readable. I'm sorry about that. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare the demo, but it kind of shows how it works. Like I said, it's
Do you have like, I'm just because this reminds me that one feature I always implement to me is like having different colors per row. You have even and odd as extension methods on the count. So how do you do that here?
yeah, you mean like what metadata are actually available or something?
Well, it's just like how you decide if something is an even and odd number. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so these are all the data we have. Hopefully it's visible. Oops. So we have count, which is one based index, which is like when accessing lists and arrays. S next, is last, is first, odd, even, and index parity. So this is in every loop you can access these this metadata, but previously you use them directly, but now you need to use the prefix. If you use the each variant of the iteration where you don't specify the alias, then we use it, which is the, basically the defaulted alias
item. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of a breaking change, but it was worth it, I believe, because it allows for the nested loops to to be able to reference the metadata from the outer loop.
And I guess this is actually a good point you have there because you said this was breaking chains. I believe this was done just before we went from preview to supporter.
Right? Yeah, I believe so. And it's also mentioned in the migration guide and in the docs. So
because I know that was one thing that came up often, like why is Qt to the preview? And we changed that a while back now.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult and tricky because you need to on one hand, it's cool to stay backward compatible forever, right? But then you
Sure,
realize that you did some mistakes, so want to improve your API, and
sure.
you
But
must break something.
yeah, but no. Okay, you got other items? Otherwise, I want to show the Quarkus tools just for 2 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead. Show,
Yeah,
show.
yeah. It was just because I know there are people for. So yeah, so the we had a show. I said episode 90. We did this in detail. I guess for those who are interested in Qt, I think it'd be good to know that there are Quarkus tooling, and it works in VS Code and Eclipse, and maybe even IntelliJ, but I'm not sure. Jean-Francois, if you're here, can you let me know? I haven't tried. But basically, you get access to like there's these different. Where are we here? Like navigation, like when you have the injection of templates, uh, you can you can navigate to the actual code or template. You can. I hope you can see it here. Yeah. Again, navigation, and there comes
Yeah, this
um, content assist on the different methods and properties. Um, yeah, if you hover on something, you can see what type it is. This is editing. So when I edit something of the same name, it changes everywhere. Um, yeah, the different again. There's just a ton of stuff that they've done here, and there's validation. And I just saw Jean-François say it's also IntelliJ. I did not know we had that. That's awesome. So now it's in all three. That's cool. That is great. So yeah, so they've done a ton of stuff, and I know one of the new features they talk about is debugging. So they actually implemented a debug support for Qt. It's a bit tricky how to use it, but basically it allows to make step through the Qt stuff. But we were trying to see if you can get it working. Like right now, it's like you have to have it in the IDE, and you could step through the template. But it would be really interesting if you could put a breakpoint while the Quarkus app is running. But yeah, those are things in progress. So mainly the Quarkus tool now is like content assist, validation, navigation. So if you're using IntelliJ, VS Code, or Eclipse, do give it a try. I'm actually they've done a really good job of different features.
Yeah,
So yeah. And that's even just to be fair to the IntelliJ guys, the IntelliJ commercial product also have some Qt support, but I'm gonna say that it's actually not as good as ours. But it's there if people want to try, if they have the commercial version of IntelliJ. So yeah, cool. Let me stop sharing my screen. There we go. I'll stop yours. Do you have more on your agenda to get
so
through all the items?
oh, yeah, I have a few of the futures, but they are kind of advanced, so I don't know. It would actually make sense to go through them. Anyway, I wanted to say that the IDE support we have is really great, and the debugger work is also sounds really interesting. They are kind of it's always complicated to make it work, things like that. But I believe that we are on a good way, and so hopefully we will be able to deliver something soon.
Yeah. Actually, there was one thing I wanted to understand. This content filters. That is something I didn't know about.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what is that?
Uh, so as always, you can take a look uh, at the
Share your screen
specification.
again. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit more advanced stuff. We have it described a little bit in our reference guide, but basically it's something that you it's a integration SPI basically, where you can register something which is able to filter the content of any template before we pass it. So that our example shows that you can basically uh, do some pre-processing of your templates and escape all occurrences of special characters and so on. Another use case for this could be, for example, you can compress your template. There are many compressing engines out there so that you can compress your HTML, JavaScript, or whatever, remove the white spaces and so on. So this is what it is about, basically.
Huh. Okay. So basically, allows you to fix issues without that you have everywhere, without having to
Well,
to 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 rewrite the templates. Yeah.
yeah, fix issues or just enhance the templates in a way you need to do
Yeah.
whatever you need.
Sure. Sure. All right. Well, that's cool. Okay. What else was? Let me just see if you had anything else in your list I didn't know about. I think I had. Yeah. Well, that is. Yeah. Well, anyway, beyond time. So let's do one good one and on time. So cool. Well, and we got no. I don't think we have any more questions on the list here. So cool. Well, thank you, Martin. And I think for everyone else, next week is on not Renard, Kenor with Andy, I believe, um, which also will involve Qt, I'm pretty sure, to do some front end development with the back end. But yeah, so anyway, thank you all, and have a great weekend. Oh, not weekend, great week when you get there. Yeah. See you around.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.